Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. A little bit of a different video today. I'm taking it back to the original and doing a sit down chat with you, and I wanted to talk through the 5 things that I'm doing in 2023 for my mental health. So if you are new to my channel, if you haven't watched my first video, then I was diagnosed with postnatal depression about 8 months after Izzy was born, and I was medicated. I discuss my choice to use medication in my first video. It's not for everyone. I completely respect everyone's decisions, but I made the decision to be medicated. Medication now, but certainly still in recovery. I think I still get triggered. I still have bad days, but certainly I've put into place now steps that massively reduce the duration and how often I feel that way. And I think regardless of whether or not you've clicked on this because you're suffering with depression, you have suffered with depression, you're curious about whether you're suffering with depression, maybe you're absolutely mentally okay. I don't think many of us are in today's world, but maybe you'll feel like you're fine. I still think that there's some take-home value from this conversation about what you can be doing to optimize your mental health. So one thing I need to say before we get into any of my suggestions is that I need to preface this by saying that they are just suggestions and they're things that I'm finding helpful for me on my journey. I think it's such a cop-out when anyone on the internet or on social media says, do your own research, because I was talking to a friend about exactly this the other day. It's impossible to know, well, not impossible, but it's hard to know then, okay, I'll go and do my own research. Where am I looking? What am I looking at? What do I need to be looking for? Is there any alarm bells that, happen in information that should make me, discredit it or take it with a grain of salt? And so I just wanted to say, when I say do your own research, if I'm looking at content, information, articles, I'm looking for I'll just read it out to you because I've made notes, like I said, otherwise we'll go off on a story. I always look for authors who are willing to provide contradicting evidence, which often happens in, medical journal articles, or at least acknowledge that their research is young or of poor quality, or for example, like a small group or animal research. I always look for articles that cite sources, not just blogs quoting blogs, or influencers quoting other influencers, or YouTube quoting other YouTubes. Always look for that credible reference. I look for articles written by experts in the field. So the main things I'm looking for when I talk about nutrition or anything else is MD, RD, or PhD. So medical doctor, doctrine, or registered dietitian. And I beware of articles that funnel you into purchasing. So if I'm ever reading anything, watching anything, listening to anything, and I end up in a situation where I'm being told that I should buy a product, then really anything that's been said to me before that, I'm just wondering. I'm just gonna look a little bit further into it before I just click buy, if that makes sense. So I love it. So the first thing that I want to talk about, or the first thing that I'm doing for my mental health in 2023 is making a huge point of focusing on my nutrition. So at the moment, I am literally eating for depression. You guys know how passionate I am about food and the food industry and good food and cooking, and honestly, I just love it. I'm studying it. I read it for recreationally. I just get such a buzz off understanding how food affects the body, can heal the body, works with the body. And I think that, people have been saying it for a while, that we're just starting to understand now how important the gut is, but it is absolutely, it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing how important the gut and your gut biome is for your mental health. So just for reference, I'm just going to spit a couple of facts out now, and then I'll talk to you about what I'm doing to I guess, implement changes in my kind of day-to-day life that optimize kind of those facts. So 95% of the serotonin, so serotonin is your happy hormone essentially. So 95% of your serotonin is actually produced in your gut. So it works in your brain, but it's produced in your gut, which is just like it's your happy hormone. And I'm gonna reference, I'll link it below, but it's a study. I learned about it in an episode recently where I was listening to Tim Spector, who's like the world leading gut biologist, I don't know, I'll write it on the screen what his actual like title is and all the letters after his name, and he's spectacular. But I was listening to an episode of Diary of the CEO, I'll link that below as well, that he was on, and he was talking about a study of two groups of rats, and one group of rat they fed an optimum diet for gut nutrition, for healthy gut nutrition, and the other group of rats they fed a diet that was designed to cause depression. It worked. They then took feces from the depressed rats and took them in and put them inside the gut biome of the healthy rats, and they were able to influence, you know, how those rats behaved and felt, and they created more depressed rats essentially, which is just mind-blowing. And I know there's studies now, I don't know if they're big studies, but I know there's studies now where they're actually doing feces transfers between humans to optimize gut biome. It's a thing, like it's mad crazy. So to optimize my gut health, I have implemented a real focus on the 4 Ks. So, Rosie. So that is kraut, kimchi, kefir, and kombucha. Kefir. I say kefir. I'm probably saying it wrong. I say a few things wrong. So the 4 Ks are now absolutely in my diet religiously every week to optimize, I guess, what my gut bio can eat. For my gut biome, one thing I'm also doing is I am making an effort to consciously eat as close as I can to 30 different varieties of plants a week. I have on my phone actually, and I use this regularly, but I don't know if you can see, but I have a list of about 45 fruit and vegetables, you know, oats, nuts, all that kind of jazz, and I tick them off. I know this sounds crazy, but honestly, I'm noticing such big changes in my mental health that I'm talking about it. And I tick off, like trying to get close to 30 every week because I eat a different variety. And the point of variety is to grow, you know, gut biome. So your gut biome is made up of about 100 trillion bacteria, but they all eat different things. So the idea of the fermented, the idea of the, you know, huge amounts of variety is that you kind of feed and grow and have as much variety as you can. I also practice time restricted eating. I think I've mentioned that before in another video, but I stop eating earlier in the day and I eat later in the day. And that allows your body to recover. So stress, it's, you know, there's studies that show that stress hormones go down, repair cells present themselves and repair the lining of your gut. They clean, wall repair, all that kind of jazz, and affects, you know, assists with your mood. Another thing that I'm doing is focusing this year on micronutrients and health instead of macros and weight control. I think that we are seeing a shift towards personalized nutrition anyway. We're not seeing, it's happening, it's going to happen. So like these prescribed meal plans from a PT or from, you know, whoever, it's going to phase out, because now we're realizing how personal nutrition needs to be to optimize a person's health. I'm sure you've all seen that you can go and do gut bio tests now, and you know, it comes back and tells you what's living and what's growing. But I think what we're going to see is a shift towards that being used to prescribe diet, which is just, I mean, it's crazy. But I think, you know, if you think about it, we already test for allergens. If there's something wrong with, you know, your digestion, we test for allergens, you know, celiac being the first one that comes to mind, but there's so many others. So I think it's kind of almost the opposite spectrum of that, where instead of saying like, hey, like don't eat this, it makes you ill, we're seeing a shift towards eat more of this, it will be beneficial towards you and your gut biome. I know there's studies now, like, just another tangent, this is why I've got notes, but that are showing that Alzheimer's may even be preventable with gut biome. Like, there's certain bacteria that present that, you know, that work against Alzheimer's and things like that. So there's so many exciting, if you're into it, it excites me. There's so many things, exciting things happening in the health industry that we'll see roll out, I think, into, you know, the fitness industry and the health food industry, that are just crazy. Moving on to the next, another thing that I've written that I might just mention is that eat organic where you can. Prioritize fruit and vegetables that you don't peel. So like fruit and vegetables that you just wash to eat, prioritize that over something that you peel, like a banana, for example. But if you can prioritize organic leaves, mushrooms, you know, animals, fruit and vegetables that you just pick up and eat straight away, buy organically where you can, where your budget allows, where your situation allows. And if you can't buy organic, or if organic doesn't work for you, then just make sure that you're washing your fruit and vegetables properly, not just rinsing them with water. Make sure that you're washing them properly. I'll link below the products that I use. I use an organic fruit and vegetable wash, and I use lemon essential oil to lift off pesticides. If I can't buy organic, you know, sometimes you do an online order and they're out of organic blueberries, so they send you regular blueberries. I'm not wasting them, but I'm just making sure that I wash them properly before we consume them. Pesticides, if you knew what they can put on your food, like, it's just, I mean, it's so mad when you start to look at it. It's just infuriating. You guys have heard me talk about food additives before. It drives me crazy. I'll do below, I'll link the episode of Diary of a CEO that I'm talking about with Tim Spector. I'll link Tim Spector's books and any research that I just mentioned that he's done. I'll also link a book called The Gut Stuff, which I think is just a great place to start. If this, you know, if you're curious about any of this, if I'm saying this to you and you think, hang on a minute, maybe I want to know a little bit more about this, I'll link a book below that is just a great kickoff point, I think. Lots of diagrams, you know, of your digestive tract and everything like that. So I will put that all below. So the second thing that I'm doing in 2023 for my mental health is reducing my mental load. So I think coming out of, and this is, I'm gonna reference this to my postnatal depression, but it could just be regular depression. It could just be the discussion about mental load in general, which I think is a conversation that we're all having now. We're realizing like how heavy our lives are just on our minds constantly. But for me, I think coming from a very structured workplace, you know, I knew what was happening every minute of every day, you know, weeks in advance, you know, planning campaigns for work, planning social media, planning events, planning, you know, team events, like whatever. Like I knew kind of so far in advance what was happening and what I was working towards. And I think that going into motherhood for me, I stopped planning. And I think that that's like absolutely, like when you first have your baby, or when you go on maternity, when you first have your baby, like you are day to day. You are just, you know, you're thriving or you're surviving wherever you fit on the spectrum day to day. You're maybe not in the situation where you're picking up a daily planner in the morning, okay, and going, you know, what did I want to achieve today, or what have I got scheduled today? But I think as time went on for me, I realized that I absolutely need that structure, even just as a stay-at-home mum. Even without having a workplace that I'm going to, being a stay-at-home mum, I need to plan and have structure and audit and set tasks and allocate time. So reducing my mental load by, I bought a really great planner this year. I'll link it below, from Steph Pays. I'm absolutely loving it. I love a heap of her products. We use a heap of her products. I might put some photos in here of the products I'm using, but I'll link it all below that I'm loving. I am note making like a mofo at the moment. Not at the moment. I have been, I am, it's my vibe. Like I think of things, I put it on paper straight away because I am reducing the amount that I need to remember, refer to, you know, I'm just taking that straight, it comes into my mind, I put it down where it needs to be, and then I know that when I refer to that, I put everything on it that I, you know, need to have on there. And it could be as simple as like, okay, wash Izzy swimmers for Friday, or it could be groceries coming between 2 and 5, you know, the things like that, or order milk, like, you know, I need to buy milk, or I finished my chickpeas, I need to buy some more tinned chickpeas. Just, you know, the simple day-to-day things that when you add onto it, raising kids, or just even, you know, raising dogs or cats or running your life, you know, you kind of, you just don't realize how heavy that stuff is until it's not there anymore and your brain has space to think of and do other things. So following on from that, like note making, to-do lists, family planners, meal planning, meal planning is not something that and maybe having lived in London for the last 10 years, we ate at home, but we ate out a lot because we were in London, you can imagine, like, and we're foodies, we worked in the food industry. So for us, like, you know, and now living here on the Gold Coast, there's still a great food scene. It's nowhere near what it is in London. But having a little one, having a 2-year-old, she's not just in a pram anymore, you know, and it's not just like life before kids anymore. So meal planning has honestly been incredible. And then one other thing that I've written here is subscriptions. So I love me a subscription service. So I'm talking about Amazon for nappies, nappy cream, toothbrushes, toothpaste, like whatever I can subscribe. Our clothes washing liquid I've written here. It's often cheaper too to subscribe because you get a percentage off with them. The more you subscribe to, the more you get off. Like I think 5 items is like 15% off and stuff like that. So that's also worth thinking about. But I have all of that come from Amazon, and then I use Who Gives a Crap for our toilet paper. So we use, that's also an environmental decision, but we use a bamboo toilet paper from a company called Who Gives a Crap. I'll link them below. I did one, and we've got 2 bathrooms and the luxury of space. So I did a big box order when we moved here in August. It's now February, and I am just buying toilet paper again next month. Haven't had to think about it for literally like what, 7 months. So toilet paper, I've put meat here. So we use a service from Our Cow. It's our choice to use them because they're completely organic, small farms, grass-fed their whole lives, no chlorine washing, the best beef jerky that Aaron has ever had in his life, and they've just added wild-caught seafood to their subscription service, but I use them. We don't eat a huge deal of meat. We have been here in this house for 7 months and I've had 3 meat orders from them, but it just allows me to have it delivered. They do all pet food as well for Rosie, so that's worth thinking about. But it just allows me to have it delivered. I don't have to think about ordering it from Woolworths. And I know that it's like the best quality meat and seafood now, and pet food that we can afford. So it's a health decision as well. We don't eat a lot of meat, so the meat that we do eat, we're able to make sure that it's, you know, of optimum quality and sustainable and all that jazz. So we use Our Cow. Again, I'll link them below. And then I've put plan your own time, including your downtime. So you guys know I have Fridays. I'm recording this on a Friday. I have Fridays to myself. Izzy goes to swimming, Aaron's at work. Izzy goes back to grandma and granddad's afterwards. I get the whole day to myself. I am massively benefiting from structuring that day so that I am able to get things done, so that I can go into the weekend, Aaron's days off, my time with Izzy, you know, in a really great place, because I know that things that I wanted to check off for myself, it could be as simple as getting my nails done. It could be sitting down and recording a video like this with you guys, but I'm getting that done today. I wake up, I know exactly what I've got to get done because I've scheduled it all. And yeah, that has been a huge game changer for me. So I'm even scheduling my downtime to like make sure that my time when I have to be switched on is like optimal, because yeah, it's all sorted. But so I'll link all that below. But that is kind of like my reducing my mental load tips and tricks. And I have found that, I mean, we're 2 months into 2023 now, and it is something that has absolutely changed my year. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is, and I feel like everyone says this, get outside. But really, get outside. And I don't mean like go, obviously nature is fantastic. You guys know how much I walk with Izzy. We're always outside. We're always going, we're out on the boat, we're down at Hotter, we're, you know, swimming in salt water is just so beneficial. Being grounded, like, you know, just walking in nature is so beneficial, 100%. But even just getting outside of your home environment is beneficial. For example, if you live in the UK and it's so cold, but you know, you're in a place of having bad mental health days, like just go and sit somewhere that isn't your home environment. Get outside of your home environment. Be around people, or, you know, be somewhere busy, be somewhere that has noise other than the noise that's kind of in your own head, if that makes sense. So get outside, people. Get outside of your environment. Go somewhere new, go somewhere different, do something new, do something different. Go to the library and read your book there. You know, go to a cafe, read your book there. You know, go and buy a takeaway coffee and go for a walk. You know, just whatever it is. Like, instead of doing all of your grocery order online, you know, walk and get milk instead. You know, if you need to have a goal or purpose for getting outside, then set that goal or purpose as going to get milk, or going to get bread, or going to get, you know, I need limes for dinner tonight, or limes is so random. I don't know why Mexican came to my head then. Walk outside and get your limes for dinner. But you know what I mean? Like, leave an ingredient off your list for your dinner, you know, for your dinner, and have to go and walk and get it that day if you want to cook the dish. Just get outside of your home environment. The next thing I've written, and one thing that I am actively, you know, this is huge for me in 2023, and I think that everything has been important. I think nutrition is number one. Everything has been important, but this for me has massively changed my mental state for 2023, and that is setting goals, which we all do as we go into the new year, but set them with achievable steps and celebrate those steps when they're achieved. So for me, that has, you know, represented as this YouTube channel, for example. I'm not waiting until I'm manifesting a successful YouTube channel. I'm manifesting, you know, an amazing community where we talk about nutrition and health and goals and motherhood and how shitty it can be sometimes, and wellness, and, you know, all of those. And we share those kind of, like, I share that with a community of people, and we talk about things like that. And, you know, I'm manifesting all of that. But I celebrated posting my first video, you know, and I celebrated the messages that I got from other mums when I posted that first video. You know, like, I am absolutely not waiting until the big stuff happens this year. I am celebrating the small stuff, the stuff that we rule out as not being important or not being the end goal, or, you know, like, bringing it back to motherhood. I am celebrating that first pee that she does in her potty. She might pee all over the house for the rest of the day, but I am celebrating that first pee. You know what I mean? I'm not celebrating it when toilet training I'm not celebrating that. I'm celebrating the small goals. I've mentioned my YouTube. I'm celebrating, you know, like, one of my goals this year is cooking so much more at home. And week by week, I am celebrating those wins. I'm recognizing those wins. I'm recognizing it, you know, when I achieve my goals. So I think that, yeah, set your goals, set your big goals, set your big targets for 2023, you know, but also talk about the steps that happen in between those big goals and what it takes to achieve them, you know. And for example, bringing it back to the last kind of, you know, point that I made about getting outside. If your goal today or tomorrow for your mental health is to walk and get a coffee, celebrate that when that happens. Do you know what I mean? Don't wait until you feel cured or better every day, or, you know, don't wait. you know, celebrate those small achievements. And, you know, I just think that that is absolutely making a big difference to me this year. One of the small goals that I have set this year that we are achieving, we are thriving, is to make sure that I have 2 clean spaces in my house. So we have a toddler, we have a 2-year-old. Aaron works full time. I'm a stay-at-home mum. We're busy. She is busy. She's a busy girl. She's busy outside of the house. She's busy in the house. It's chaos like I've never seen before. And so for me, I am not compromising this year on having a clean kitchen and a clean bedroom. So when I walk out in the morning, the first thing that I do is get a glass of water and make a coffee. That space for my mental health is clean that I walk into every morning. And I wake up and go to bed in a clean space every day and night. That has been an absolute game changer. And when I walk out in the morning and the kitchen's clean because I gave it, you know, 20 minutes at the end of the night before, even though I was tired, even though Izzy needed to go to bed, even though I still had to take my contact lens out, clean my teeth, take my makeup off. No, pause. I'm gonna make sure that my kitchen's clean and I walk out into a clean kitchen. I celebrate that every day because it is just an absolute game changer, giving myself those 2 clean spaces. But it's such a trivial goal. You know, well, I mean, it's not trivial because it helps my mental health, but on the grand scheme of things, of all the goals I've set in my life and will set in my life, having a clean kitchen sounds so crazy. It's daft, but it's absolutely helping me. And I think that in reference to that as well, I think that one big thing setting these small goals or setting these small steps to achieve big goals is that those small steps are kind of, they're promises to yourself. And a huge part, certainly a huge part of my recovery from postnatal depression was rebuilding trust with myself and rebuilding a positive internal dialogue that I had with myself, because my mental health, my postnatal depression absolutely presented as, you know, horrific self-talk, you know. And so for me, when I keep that promise to myself every day that I'm gonna clean my kitchen or make my bed or have a clean space in my bedroom, I just am slowly putting bricks back into the wall of, you know, just having, I guess, a positive sense of achievement, if that makes sense. Do I make sense? I don't know, it's working for me, that's why I'm sharing it. One of my 4Ks. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about that I think is an important step or an important thing that I'm doing in 2023 for my mental health is understanding, acknowledging, and recognizing my triggers and what triggers me, and understanding that they can be irrational, and that's okay. They can be small, silly things, and that's okay. But understanding what they are and preventing them rather than treating them. So some of my goals for 2023 that I've mentioned that reflect this is my goal of a clean bedroom and a clean kitchen, so that the space that I wake up in and the space that I walk to first thing in the morning is clean and tidy, because I have realized that having a messy environment is a huge trigger for my mental health. And I know that it's saying that out loud, like there's part of me that thinks that's ridiculous. Like it is ridiculous that having a messy kitchen can set you off and make you have a bad day. But the reality is that right now, where I am, that's something that massively affects me. The tidiness of my space and the neatness of my space. So things that I'm doing, one thing that I'm doing, like I said, clean kitchen, clean bedroom, but also I read this, where did I read this? I read it in a book somewhere, I can't remember, so I can't credit it, but the one touch rule. I sound crazy because it's working for me, and you might hear it and it might work for you too. And I read this somewhere, so I know someone else is doing it, so it's working for them. So my aim is in my house that when I pick something up, I put it back where it goes. I put it back in its place so that it doesn't sit somewhere else, so it doesn't have to be touched again, so I'm not double handling it, so I'm saving my time, so I'm not going crazy moving a pair of shoes around the house. I take my shoes off, they go back where they go. I take washing off the line, it goes back immediately into the cupboards. I don't put it in a basket and let it sit somewhere. I know, and this is it's funny because some people will be listening to this going, well, yeah, Alyce, like, you touch things once. But for me, it was like a light bulb moment that if I just put everything away, or if I just like handled things once in my house, it would be so much more efficient. Like, I needed to actually read that somewhere and implement it. So that's one thing that I'm doing. For you, it might be completely different, but just like to combat my trigger, which is untidiness. And like, my house is it's always clean, you know what I mean? Like, it's not dirty, but it's just like I need my space to feel light so that my brain doesn't feel foggy and overwhelmed. So, probably a little bit too much information, you know, I'm letting you right in there into my brain, but understand your triggers, understand, you know, how you can prevent them and put practices into place to prevent them from happening in the first place. And that's it. That's my 5 points. That's all I've got to share. That's my video for this week. I have been talking for so long. It's what I do. Thank you for watching until the end. If you're here, like, hats off to you. You're a trooper. I love you. Thank you for supporting my channel. Please subscribe. Please give this video a like. I'm new here. It really helps. And I upload every week. My aim is moving into March to upload twice a week. So a video like this where we sit down or we chat or we talk about practices, and then a vlog. That's where I'm at. But yeah, I love you. Thanks for being here. Bye, guys.